Welcome to Heartbreaker, your love radio. On a cold winter night, Juliana was preparing dinner while waiting for Carlos, her husband, to return home in Boston. When he finally arrived, the tension in his shoulders and the avoidance of his gaze foreshadowed a storm about to erupt. It erupted before Juliana could even serve dinner. "Juliana, we need to talk," Carlos began hesitantly. The ensuing silence was suffocating, only the distant sound of cars breaking the quietness of the environment. What happened, Carlos?" "You're scaring me," Juliana said, feeling a knot in her stomach. Carlos sighed. "There's no easy way to say this. I got involved with someone. A coworker." Juliana's world seemed to spin. Each of his words was a blow. "Are you saying that there's someone else?" Yes. And I think I'm in love with her," Carlos confessed, avoiding Juliana's gaze, which was now a mix of disbelief and pain. Juliana felt like the ground beneath her feet was disappearing. "And our children, Carlos? And everything we built together?" "I'm sorry, Juliana, I really am. I didn't plan for this to happen," he replied, his voice choked with guilt. In the days that followed, Juliana sought refuge wherever she could. She called her best friend, Marissa, who listened to her sobbing confession over the phone. "I just don't know what to do, Marissa. My whole life, everything I knew, has fallen apart," Juliana cried on the phone. "You're strong, Jules. We'll get through this together," Marissa reassured her. Why don't you come over to my place tomorrow? Let's talk and find a way to help you through this." Juliana also sought professional help. In her first therapy session, she expressed the confusion and pain she felt. "I feel lost, like I don't even know who I am anymore." "It's normal to feel that way after betrayal, Juliana. Let's work together to rebuild your sense of self, independent of him," the therapist advised, offering a safe space for her to explore her feelings. Though the path ahead was murky and uncertain, Juliana knew she had to maintain stability for her children, who were also trying to understand the family's new reality. The days following Carlos's revelation were marked by meetings with lawyers and numerous discussions about asset division and child custody. Juliana felt each encounter as a battle, a constant struggle to maintain some normalcy in her life and that of her children. Sitting across from her lawyer, she listened to the available legal options. "Juliana, it's important that you think long-term for yourself and the children. Let's ensure your rights are protected," the lawyer advised, flipping through documents that seemed to decide her future. I understand, but I want to ensure this is as least traumatic as possible for my children. They don't deserve to go through all of this," Juliana responded, trying to conceal the tremor in her voice. Meanwhile, Carlos seemed to move on with his life without looking back. He quickly married his new partner, in a simple ceremony at a small chapel in Cape Cod, which Juliana found out about through mutual friends, shocked at how swiftly everything had happened. In one of the many meetings to discuss the terms of the divorce, Carlos tried to talk to Juliana. "I know this isn't easy, Juliana. I never wanted things to end this way." Juliana, firm, simply replied, "You made your choices, Carlos. Now, we need to think about what's best for the children." Custody was one of the most delicate points. In a mediation session, the mediator suggested, "I think it would be beneficial for the children to maintain a stable routine. Perhaps joint custody is the way to go?" Carlos looked to Juliana, seeking some kind of approval. "Juliana, do you think we can make this work for them?" Taking a deep breath, Juliana agreed. Yes, as long as we keep everything as stable as possible for them. They are my priority." With the divorce finalized, Juliana found herself officially separated, facing the reality of being a single mother now. The nights were long, and the silence of her home in Cambridge seemed to echo the loneliness and abandonment she felt. After completing the tumultuous divorce process, Juliana felt it was time to rediscover herself. The first step was to resume her former career in interior design, something she had put on the back burner during the years of marriage. She visited an old colleague in the profession, Thomas, at his studio in the heart of Boston. Juliana, what a wonderful surprise. It's been so long," Thomas exclaimed with a smile upon seeing her. What brings you here?" "I'm returning to work, Thomas. I want to resume my career in interior design. I've missed it, creating, being part of something beautiful, Juliana explained, her eyes shining with a mix of nervousness and excitement. That's great to hear. The design world has missed you. Let's find a project for you to start. How about this? Thomas proposed, showing her some project options she could collaborate on. Re-energized by returning to work, Juliana also decided to take better care of herself. She joined a local running club, where she met Laura, a veteran runner who quickly became a friend and mentor. You're doing great, Juliana. Running is a great way to clear the mind, Laura commented during one of their morning runs along the Charles River. It's been really liberating, Juliana replied, breathless but smiling. Every step makes me feel a little lighter, a little more like myself. In addition to caring for her career and physical health, Juliana also became more involved in the community. She began participating in activities at the local community center, helping organize events and workshops for families and children. During an art event for kids, she struck up a conversation with one of the organizers, Maria. It's wonderful to have you with us, Juliana. You bring such positive energy, Maria commented as they helped the children with their paintings. I feel like I'm part of something meaningful here, helping bring joy to these kids. It's very fulfilling, Juliana replied, looking around at the children engrossed in their artistic creations. The rediscovery of her passions and the reactivation of her professional life brought a new light to Juliana. She felt like she was rebuilding her identity and, each day, reaffirming her independence and strength. 2 years after her separation, Juliana's life had new colors and textures when she decided to visit a contemporary art exhibition in Boston. The event, held in a renowned gallery in the South End, promised to showcase works by local emerging artists. Walking among the artworks, Juliana was fascinated by a series of abstract paintings that captured the essence of movement and emotion. As she observed one of the pieces, a young man approached. It's amazing, isn't it? Each person sees something different in these shapes, said the young man with a friendly smile. He was Tiago, an art student at Boston University. Juliana looked at him, surprised and intrigued. Yes, it's true. I was trying to decipher what the artist was trying to convey here. That's the beauty of abstract art. It's open to interpretation. I, for example, see a kind of organized chaos. And you? Tiago asked, clearly interested in her perspective. Juliana thought for a moment. Perhaps a search for something unattainable, but beautiful in a way. Tiago nodded, impressed. I like that view. It's poetic. The conversation flowed naturally between them, and Tiago suggested they continue exploring other works together. Amid discussions about art and life, Juliana felt a genuine connection forming. Tiago had a youthful energy and an optimism that seemed refreshing. Do you often come to exhibitions like this? Tiago asked as they walked to another room. Not as often as I'd like. But today, I'm glad I came, Juliana replied, smiling. Before parting ways, Tiago had an idea. Would you like to continue this conversation somewhere quieter? I know a cafe nearby that has excellent espresso. Juliana accepted the invitation, curious about Tiago and excited to learn more about his world. At the cafe, they delved into conversations about their lives and aspirations. Tiago talked about his studies and his dream of becoming a recognized artist, while Juliana shared her experiences with interior design and her recent personal rediscovery. It's inspiring to see someone rediscover themselves like this. You seem to have incredible strength, Tiago observed, admiringly. Juliana smiled a bit shyly. I'm trying. And conversations like this help me see that I'm on the right path. Juliana and Tiago discovered more about each other, their encounters becoming increasingly meaningful. Juliana, however, began to feel a whirlwind of emotions. The age difference between them, she at 40 and he at only 20, sometimes made her hesitate. One afternoon while walking through the Boston Public Garden, her concern surfaced. Tiago, don't you think our age difference could be a problem? Juliana asked, a bit uncertain. Tiago stopped, looking directly into her eyes. Juliana, I know that the age difference is something people may notice, but I really don't care about what others think. What I feel for you is what matters. Juliana smiled, touched by his sincerity but still worried. I really like you, Tiago, it's just that I don't want you to feel like you're missing out by being with someone older. Juliana, being with you makes me happy. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. In fact, I feel like I'm gaining a lot, Tiago replied, holding her hands. Encouraged by Tiago's words, Juliana began to allow herself to more fully enjoy the relationship. At home, her children began to notice a change in her as well. One day, while preparing dinner together, her teenage daughter remarked, "Mom, you seem different, happier." Juliana, surprised and a bit nervous at the observation, responded with a cautious smile. "I'm feeling good, sweetheart. I've been spending time with someone special." That's good, Mom. I like seeing you happy," her daughter said, offering a supportive smile that eased Juliana's fears. This acceptance within her own home gave Juliana the confidence to dive even deeper into the relationship with Tiago. They began to explore not only cafes and galleries together but also small trips around Massachusetts, discovering new places and creating memories. On one of these trips, while watching the sunset on the coast of Rockport, Tiago said, "Juliana, I love being with you." Juliana, feeling more and more secure and happy, replied, "I'm very happy too." Carlos had come from New York to Boston for a routine visit with the kids. Since the divorce, he had been trying to maintain a constant presence in their lives, although the distance and his new commitments sometimes complicated things. However, on this visit, something else caught his attention: Juliana's visible transformation. When Carlos arrived at the house where he used to live with Juliana and the kids, he immediately noticed a change in her demeanor and appearance. She seemed more vibrant, an aura of contentment surrounding her. Initially, he tried to brush off these thoughts, but during a lunch with the kids, he couldn't contain himself any longer. "You seem different, Juliana, happier," Carlos commented, trying to keep his tone casual, but his curiosity was palpable. Juliana, sensing Carlos's inquisitive gaze, responded simply, "Yes, I'm fine. Making some positive changes in my life." Carlos chewed on her words and the food, feeling a mix of surprise and discomfort. Upon returning to New York, the image of a happy Juliana continued to echo in his mind, stirring up feelings he didn't expect: jealousy and a strange sense of nostalgia. A few weeks later, during a call about arrangements for the kids' upcoming school break, Carlos tried to probe further. "Juliana, are you seeing someone? Is that what's changed?" Juliana hesitated, surprised by the direct question. "Yes, I'm getting to know someone. But I fail to see how that concerns you, Carlos." Carlos felt a tightness in his chest, a mix of regret and jealousy. "I was just curious. You seem different." Carlos, what matters is that I'm happy and our kids are doing well. Our lives have taken different paths, remember?" Juliana replied, firmly, wanting to establish clear boundaries in that conversation. The call ended shortly after, leaving Carlos with his tumultuous thoughts. He paced back and forth in his Manhattan apartment. Jealousy, a feeling he didn't expect to feel again, deeply disturbed him. After weeks of restlessness and reflection, Carlos decided he needed to see Juliana again, not just during his routine visits with the children, but in a private meeting to talk. He took advantage of a business trip to Boston and contacted Juliana, suggesting they meet for coffee. "Juliana, could you meet me to talk?" "Just the two of us," Carlos proposed in a message. Juliana, reading the message on her phone, felt a wave of caution. Carlos, I'm not sure if this is a good idea." "What exactly do you want to discuss?" I just would like to clarify some things," Carlos replied, hiding his nervousness behind his words. Reluctant but determined to keep things clear, Juliana agreed to meet him at a public cafe, a neutral place. Sitting at the table, Carlos looked at Juliana, noticing how she seemed more confident and serene. "Juliana, you look amazing. I've been thinking a lot about this, about how things could have been different," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. Carlos, there's no us to discuss. We're over, you made your choices. I made mine," Juliana replied, with a firmness that surprised even herself. But what if we tried again? I miss you, Juliana." "Life hasn't been the same without you," Carlos insisted, revealing his vulnerability. Juliana took a deep breath, keeping calm. Carlos, what we had is over. I'm in a new chapter of my life now, and I'm very happy with it. I don't want to reopen old wounds. Don't you think there could be something for us in the future? Carlos asked hopefully. No, Carlos. Our past is exactly where it should be in the past. I hope you find happiness, but it won't be with me, Juliana declared, leaving no room for doubts. Relieved to have maintained her stance, she politely said goodbye and left the cafe. Carlos remained silent, Juliana's words echoing in his mind. He realized that his attempt to win her back was more about his own dissatisfaction in seeing her with someone else than about the love he believed still existed. Returning to New York after his failed encounter with Juliana, Carlos was lost in his thoughts when his current wife, Ana, confronted him at home. She had found messages exchanged between him and Juliana revealing his attempt to reconcile. Carlos, what is this? Were you trying to get back with Juliana? Ana asked, holding the phone with the messages open, her voice trembling with anger and disappointment. Caught off guard and unsure how to handle the situation, Carlos tried to explain. Guana, I just wanted to have a conversation with her. It wasn't anything serious, I swear. Wasn't anything serious? You talk about getting back together, about missing her. How do you think that makes me feel? Ana retorted, tears starting to well up in her eyes. I'm sorry, Ana. I was confused, I wasn't thinking clearly. Carlos tried to downplay the situation, his voice filled with regret. Oh, confused? No, you knew exactly what you were doing. You wanted to go back to her. Ana exclaimed, the pain evident in every word. I can't accept this, Carlos, and you know it. Carlos tried to approach her, seeking some form of consolation or reconciliation. Please, Ana, let's talk about this. We can work things out. Ana, however, was resolute and her decision had already been made. No, Carlos. There's nothing to work out. You clearly haven't gotten over Juliana, and I'm not going to live in the shadow of another woman or wait for you to do to me what you did to her. With that, Ana packed her bags that same night. The heated argument and its abrupt consequences marked the end of her marriage to Carlos. She left, leaving Carlos alone with his conscience and the weight of his choices. He had lost Ana, a woman who loved and supported him, because of an illusion of a past that no longer existed. Carlos, now alone in his apartment in New York, struggled to accept the reality of his second divorce. Meanwhile, in Boston, Juliana was experiencing a moment of growth alongside Tiago, who was increasingly becoming an integral part of her life. On a sunny afternoon, as they prepared a barbecue in the backyard to welcome friends and family, Tiago approached Juliana with a smile. I'm a little nervous to meet everyone today, but I'm really glad you want to include me like this, Tiago confessed, adjusting the grills. Juliana laughed, wrapping her arm around his. They're going to love you, Tiago. They already know how special you are to me. As the guests arrived, Tiago was warmly welcomed. Juliana felt a growing certainty that her decision to bring Tiago closer to her inner circle was the right one. Watching him talk to her brother about art and music, she felt a wave of gratitude for having someone so open and interested by her side. Meanwhile, Carlos tried to get his life back on track. Sitting in a cafe, he called his brother. I messed up again, Carlos confessed, the discouragement evident in his voice. You need to focus on understanding yourself, Carlos. Perhaps it's time to think about what truly makes you happy, beyond any relationship, advised his brother, always the rational one in times of crisis. Back at the barbecue, Juliana introduced Tiago to one of her closest friends. Tiago has really brought a new light into Juliana's life, her friend commented, smiling at them both. Juliana looked at Tiago affectionately. Yes, he has. And I feel more like myself than I have in years. As the afternoon turned into evening, the garden filled with laughter and music. Juliana, feeling surrounded by the support of friends and family, knew she had made the right decision. Juliana and Tiago, excited and full of anticipation, finally embarked on their trip to California. They planned to explore everything from the vibrant streets of San Francisco to the serene landscapes of Big Sur. For both of them, it was more than just a trip, it was a symbol of their growing commitment and a celebration of their love. Arriving in San Francisco, they stayed at a charming hotel in the heart of the city. On the first day, as they walked hand in hand along Fisherman's Wharf, they noticed some curious looks from passers-by. The age difference was evident, but Juliana was already confident in her decision. "Did you notice those looks, Tiago?" Juliana asked, with a slight smile, wanting to know his reaction. Tiago squeezed her hand, reaffirming his support. Yes, but it doesn't matter. I'm with you, and that's all that matters." Juliana smiled, encouraged by Tiago's steadfastness. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm so happy we're here together." In the following days, they explored more of the city, visiting places like Golden Gate Park and the vibrant Mission District, always savoring every moment. Despite the occasional glances, they felt increasingly connected, laughing and sharing stories and dreams. On a particularly clear day, they drove to Big Sur, famous for its spectacular ocean views and towering cliffs. There, at a lookout point overlooking the vast blue of the Pacific, Tiago pulled Juliana close and said, "Look at this, Juliana. It's so vast and so beautiful. Like what I feel for you. No matter what others think or see. Our love is like this ocean, deep and infinite." Moved by Tiago's words, Juliana responded, "I never imagined I could feel this way again. This moment, this trip, it all makes me believe in love again." They spent the rest of the day there, between conversations and shared silences, contemplating the vastness ahead. Juliana and Tiago returned to Boston, bringing with them not only memories but a new perspective on life and their relationship. On a crisp autumn afternoon, as they walked through the park along the Charles River, watching the leaves change color, Juliana shared with Tiago. "This trip, it was more than just an escape from routine, Tiago. It was confirmation for me. It confirmed that my happiness isn't defined by others' expectations, but by what we've built together," said Juliana, holding Tiago's hand firmly. Tiago, looking into her eyes, responded with a gentle voice, "And I've learned that love knows no bounds, nor age." They decided it was time to take another significant step in their lives. Together, they began planning the opening of a small art gallery, a space where Tiago could exhibit his works and Juliana could incorporate her interior design touch. On a quiet evening, as they planned the details of their new venture, Juliana's eldest son, who observed the interaction and love between her and Tiago, expressed his support. "Mom, I've never seen you so happy. I think this project of yours is going to be amazing," he said, bringing tears of happiness to Juliana's eyes. Juliana embraced her son, grateful for his acceptance and support. That means a lot to me, dear. I'm glad you feel that way." The opening of Juliana and Tiago's art gallery was the result of months of planning and dedication. The small gallery in the heart of Boston was adorned with vibrant artworks and interior design touches that reflected Juliana's passion and style. Friends, family, and local art enthusiasts gathered to celebrate this new venture. The atmosphere was electric, filled with lively conversations and admiration for the exhibited works. Juliana, dressed elegantly, welcomed the guests with Tiago by her side, both radiating happiness and pride. Everything seemed perfect until an unexpected and unwanted figure appeared at the gallery door. Carlos, visibly intoxicated, stumbled inside, causing an awkward silence among the guests. "Juliana, you can't start this without me," he shouted, unbalanced and slurring his words. Quickly, Tiago stepped forward to intercept him, while Juliana watched, shocked and embarrassed by the interruption. Carlos, you need to leave. You're not welcome here," Tiago said firmly, holding Carlos by the arm. How can you say that? I am. I was part of her life long before you showed up." Carlos replied, trying to break free, but without success. Juliana approached, taking a deep breath to stay calm. Carlos, please don't do this. You're drunk and not thinking clearly. Go home." Carlos, shaking his head, tried to look around for support from the other guests, but found only disapproving glances. "Juliana, you abandoned me for this kid." Before the situation could escalate further, two close friends of Juliana and former friends of Carlos intervened, helping to lead Carlos out of the gallery. The door closed behind them, muffling Carlos's protests. Juliana turned to the guests, her face expressing a mixture of apologies and sadness. "I'm so sorry for this, everyone. Please, let's try not to let this spoil our evening." Understanding friends and family surrounded Juliana with words of support and encouragement, trying to restore the festive atmosphere. Gradually, conversation and music filled the space again, and the night continued despite the tumultuous start. Tiago, after ensuring Carlos had left, returned to Juliana's side, gently holding her hand. "It's okay now, let's focus on the success of our gallery and the bright future ahead," he said, offering a reassuring smile. Juliana, despite the embarrassment, felt grateful for Tiago's support and for everyone present. She knew that, regardless of the challenges, she had people by her side who supported and believed in her. The opening night, although briefly overshadowed, ended as they had promised each other.